true character shines not in comfort, but in crisis. It is easy to speak of love when life is sweet, to preach integrity when rewards follow righteousness, and to advocate for justice when there is no price to pay. But when the clouds of challenge gather and the winds of difficulty begin to blow, that is when the authentic soul of a person steps forward or retreats. In moments of ease, the world applauds the performance. In moments of hardship, it reveals the truth. Crisis has a way of stripping away the layers of convenience and revealing what lies beneath the surface. When the lights are off and the audience is gone, when the path is lonely and the cost of courage is high, that is the moment when the essence of a man emerges, not what he claims to be, but what he truly is. History has shown us this again and again. It was not in the applause of crowds that men like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Mahatma Gandhi, or Nelson Mandela found their calling, but in the prisons, in the beatings, in the long nights of the soul. Their true measure was not determined by awards or titles, but by how they stood tall when injustice sought to crush them. They did not retreat into bitterness or vengeance. They held fast to their principles when compromise would have been easier. In those fiery trials, their character was forged like steel. The crisis did not make them, it revealed them. There are people who seem strong in times of plenty, who smile when the sun shines and offer words of wisdom when there is no storm. But when trouble comes knocking, some abandon the very values they once praised. That is not weakness of ability, it is weakness of spirit. Character is not about how loud you shout your beliefs on stage. It is about how silently you hold on to them when darkness surrounds you. When your back is against the wall, when fear creeps in and friends fall away, do you still walk the path of truth? That question, not your comfort, defines your worth. Crisis demands a decision. It asks you to choose between standing or surrendering, between doing what is right or doing what is easy. And in that choice, character is born. It is not inherited nor purchased. It cannot be borrowed or faked. It is carved in the valleys of adversity and etched in the moments of temptation. The fire of crisis does not destroy the soul, it refines it. Like gold tested in flame, the human spirit shows its luster only when it is pressed, bent, and challenged by the weight of life. We must not fear the difficult times, for they are the proving grounds of greatness. It is not the calm waters that produce seasoned sailors, it is the storm. It is not the applause that creates legacy, it is the sacrifice. Every person will one day walk through their own shadowed valley. It may be a loss, a betrayal, a stand for justice that isolates you, or a decision that costs you more than you expected. In that moment, when everything is at stake and the easier path lies open, will you still stand? That is where character lives. That is where you find out who you really are. A man's moral compass is tested when the crowd walks away. It is simple to walk tall when others cheer you on, to speak boldly when surrounded by approval, to act with confidence when the spotlight affirms your every move. But when the lights dim and the room grows silent, when affirmation vanishes and the crowd that once clapped now disperses, that is when the test begins. A man is not judged by how well he follows a crowd, but by how firmly he walks alone in the direction of truth. In the solitude of unpopular conviction, the deepest values are either revealed or abandoned. It is there, in that stillness, where the noise of approval fades and the voice of conscience grows louder. The moral compass is not swayed by popularity. It is anchored in principle, but principle often comes with a cost. When standing for the voiceless costs you friendships, when defending the truth brings scorn instead of praise, when your integrity leaves you outnumbered and overlooked, the choice becomes clear, not easy, but clear. Do you bend for comfort, or do you rise for conviction? When the crowd walks away, the temptation is strong to soften your stance, to retreat from righteousness, to conform for acceptance. But the man who remains rooted in justice, even when it isolates him, is the man whose soul carries the weight of real integrity. There have always been moments in history where the crowd chose silence in the face of wrong. But there have also been those rare, unwavering souls who stood even when it meant standing alone. Rosa Parks on that bus, John Lewis on that bridge, Frederick Douglass at that podium. Their moral compass pointed toward justice, and they followed it, not because they were celebrated, but because they could not betray what they knew to be right. They did not wait for the approval of the masses to do the work of the righteous. They understood that when the crowd disappears, your conscience must remain. A man's principles are truly known when the echo of applause is replaced by the sting of criticism. When it's no longer convenient to stand for what is good, that is when the power of moral character is either ignited or extinguished. The lonely road is not without pain, but it is also not without purpose. To choose integrity over popularity is to walk a path few dare to tread, but it is the path that leads to legacy. And though the crowd may not follow you at first, history often circles back to honor those who had the courage to walk ahead of it. It is in the silence, in the moments of abandonment, that the internal compass must guide your steps. And if that compass is set toward compassion, toward justice, toward unshakable truth, then it will not matter how many walk beside you. The strength of a man is not found in how many agree with him, but in how consistently he lives out his beliefs when no one is left to validate them. It takes a deep and disciplined soul to resist the pull of approval. It takes a heart anchored in truth to speak out when it's easier to stay quiet. Those who hold fast in those moments become the light for others lost in the fog of conformity. The crowd may return, or it may not. Applause may come again, or it may never echo in your ears. But the man who follows his conscience when the crowd walks away is a man who leaves footprints not just on stages, but on the soul of a generation. Greatness is not measured by power, but by purpose and principle. Power may build empires, but only purpose can inspire hearts, and only principle can sustain what is built. Too often, society is dazzled by those who command authority, who hold titles, who stand at the top of towering institutions, but the essence of greatness lies not in how many people serve a man, but in how earnestly he serves others. A man may hold power in his hand, but if he has no direction in his heart, he is like a ship with no compass. Mighty but lost, impressive but without meaning. Power can be inherited, seized, or bestowed, but purpose must be chosen, and principle must be lived. True greatness is quiet, steady, and unwavering. It is not boastful or loud. It does not demand attention, but commands respect by the depth of its conviction. A person of greatness does not wake up asking, "How much can I gain?" but instead asks, "How much can I give? Whom can I lift? What truth can I uphold even if it costs me?" Power seeks to conquer, but purpose seeks to uplift. Power demands obedience, but principle cultivates trust. Power without moral foundation can destroy, but principle guided by purpose can heal, build, and transform. There are many who have sat on thrones, held office, ruled nations, or amassed fortunes, and yet history does not remember them as great. but those who lived for a cause greater than themselves, those who dared to walk in truth even when the path was steep. Those are the ones whose legacies outlive monuments. Their greatness was not in control, but in character, not in dominance, but in devotion to something higher than themselves. To live with purpose is to wake each day fueled by vision, not ambition. And to live by principle is to let right, not convenience, be the compass of every decision. We are often taught to chase after influence, to seek status, to accumulate symbols of success. But the soul is not nourished by power. It is nourished by doing what is just, what is kind, what is rooted in love and courage. Greatness does not shine in the spotlight. It radiates in the everyday choices, in the unseen sacrifices, in the moments when a person chooses to be faithful rather than popular. When you live with purpose, you rise each day not to impress, but to impact. And when you are guided by principle, you make choices not for applause, but for alignment with your deepest truths. The world needs more people who lead with conviction instead of control, with vision instead of vanity. A man who finds his purpose becomes a force no hardship can silence, and a person who holds fast to principle becomes a foundation no storm can shake. Even if they are not famous, they are great. Even if they are not recognized by the masses, they leave ripples that shift the tides of generations. They become the quiet architects of justice, the steady builders of peace, the fearless voices of truth when others whisper or remain silent. Greatness born of purpose and principle transcends the moment and lives on in the lives it touches. It is not what one holds in the hand, but what one holds in the heart that defines their place in the story of humanity. Courage is standing firm when silence is safer. In a world that often rewards quiet compliance over bold conviction, courage becomes a rare and radiant light. It is not the absence of fear, but the refusal to be ruled by it. It is choosing to speak truth in the face of consequence, to rise when it would be easier to sit, to act when apathy offers a more comfortable seat. The path of courage is not paved with applause. It is lined with resistance, misunderstanding, and at times isolation. Yet it is also the path that leads to change, to transformation, to justice that reaches beyond the moment and into the soul of a people. There are moments in every life when silence feels like the safer road, when speaking out might cost a friendship, a job, a reputation, when taking a stand might bring judgment or mockery. But in those moments, we are confronted with a question far deeper than comfort. What kind of person will I choose to be? Will I be the one who looks away while wrong continues? Or will I be the one who rises even if I stand alone? Real courage does not wait for the crowd to move. It becomes the reason the crowd begins to stir. It is contagious, but someone must be the first to show it. History is shaped by those who refuse to be silent. Men and women who chose the fire of truth over the comfort of conformity. The voices that refused to be hushed became the echo of generations yet to come. They were not always popular. They were not always accepted. But they were always faithful to something greater than themselves. From the prison cells of Birmingham to the front lines of forgotten neighborhoods, from the halls of protest to the quiet corners of resistance, courage has taken many forms, but it has always meant the same thing: to stand firm when silence is safer. The easiest thing to do when the world grows loud with lies is to shrink into silence, but silence in the face of injustice is never neutral. It is a choice, and courage demands that we choose differently. It demands that we step forward, even with shaking hands and trembling voice, and declare that wrong will not go unchallenged, that dignity belongs to every human being, that love is stronger than hate. That truth, though buried by convenience, will rise when someone dares to speak it aloud. The courageous do not speak because they are without fear. They speak because they cannot remain still while others suffer. Courage is found in the teacher who speaks up for a child others overlook. It is in the neighbor who defends the marginalized when others pass by. It is in the student who calls out cruelty, the parent who chooses honesty, the leader who chooses justice over comfort. These acts may never be televised or written into books, but they are etched into the soul of a just society. Each act of courage becomes a brick in the foundation of a freer, fairer world. And every time someone chooses to stand firm when silence tempts retreat, they add their voice to a chorus that grows louder and stronger with time. The world does not need more silence. It needs more brave voices, more steadfast hearts, more souls who understand that courage is not born in grand moments alone, but in everyday choices to stand when it would be easier to sit down, to speak when it would be safer to remain quiet, to act when it would be simpler to stay still. Those who carry such courage do not always know where the path will lead, but they know who they must be on the journey. They may walk into storms, but they walk with purpose, knowing that their stand, however costly, is the seed from which change will grow. Integrity is doing right when no one applauds. It is the quiet commitment to truth, the unwavering devotion to what is just, even when the world offers no reward. In a culture driven by visibility and validation, where likes and followers often take the place of values and depth, integrity is not flashy, it is not loud, it is often unseen, unnoticed, and uncelebrated. But it is the foundation upon which all lasting greatness is built. A man of integrity does not wait for praise to do what is right. He does not shift his morals to match the moment or bend his conscience to gain approval. He lives by an inner standard that does not waver with the winds of popularity or fear. Integrity is not tested when eyes are watching. It is tested in the hidden places, in the decisions made in silence, in the promises kept when breaking them would bring ease. It is the strength to tell the truth when lies could protect your image. It is the courage to return what isn't yours, to admit a mistake, to defend someone who can offer you nothing in return. These acts do not trend online. They do not earn standing ovations, but they speak volumes about the depth of a person's soul. True integrity does not perform, it prevails. It holds steady when the world is watching something else. It stays rooted when the ground around it shakes. There is a dignity that walks with integrity, a quiet strength. It does not demand attention because it does not depend on it. And though it may seem that integrity costs more than it gives, the opposite is true. The rewards of integrity are not always immediate, but they are enduring: peace of mind, respect that cannot be bought, a legacy that cannot be erased. When a man walks in integrity, his steps leave marks of trust, and those marks guide others to walk the same path. He becomes a light not because he seeks to shine, but because his consistency in the dark makes him luminous. Many have talent, many have charm, many can rise quickly on charisma alone, but without integrity that rise is hollow. It is a building without a foundation. Eventually storms come, and when they do, it is not the size of your platform that saves you. It is the strength of your character. Integrity anchors you. It keeps you true when shortcuts tempt, when fame beckons, when compromise whispers sweet rewards. The world does not need more successful people who lack soul. It needs more people whose success is shaped by honesty, humility, and honor. People who choose right not because it is easy, but because it is right. To live with integrity is to embrace a path that often walks through silence. There may be no cheers, no applause, no viral moment, but there will be something far greater, a life that aligns with truth, a conscience that sleeps in peace, a name that speaks for itself. And while applause may fade and trends may shift, integrity endures. It echoes beyond the moment. It becomes a testimony others can trust, a foundation others can build upon. It may not always be recognized, but it will always be remembered by those who were touched by it. The world is desperate for leaders who do right when the cameras are off, for friends who are loyal when gossip spreads, for voices that speak honestly when deception is easy. That kind of character does not appear by chance. It is formed in daily choices, forged in private discipline, sustained by inner truth. And though no one may applaud today, the impact of integrity lasts far beyond the noise. It inspires, it uplifts, and it strengthens the moral spine of a community. Because when one person chooses to do what is right without needing to be seen, they remind us all of the power of unseen goodness, of quiet conviction, of character that does not need a stage to shine. The soul of a man is revealed in how he treats the voiceless. It is not in his speeches or his titles, not in the wealth he accumulates or the praise he receives, but in the quiet, often unnoticed moments when he encounters those who can offer him nothing in return. The voiceless may never write books, may never stand on podiums, may never hold positions of influence, but their presence is the true test of our humanity. How a man responds to the pain of the powerless, the needs of the neglected, the silence of the oppressed. This is where his soul is laid bare. In those moments, stripped of applause and reward, the depth of his compassion becomes visible not to the world, but to his own conscience. It is easy to speak of love in grand gestures, to champion justice in the safety of a crowd. But true nobility is found in the way a person leans down to lift the weary, in the way he listens to the unheard and sees those whom society has chosen to overlook. The voiceless are not weak. They are often strong in ways the world refuses to recognize, but they carry burdens in silence, fight battles without recognition, and wait for someone with power to show not pity, but respect, not charity, but dignity. A great soul does not need to be told to care. It feels the pull of justice like gravity and moves instinctively toward those in need, not out of guilt, but out of love. Throughout history, the most transformative movements have been led by those who refused to ignore the cries of the forgotten. Their greatness did not come from authority, but from their willingness to use their voice on behalf of those who had been denied one. They spoke for the enslaved, marched for the oppressed, and sacrificed for the rights of those the world deemed invisible. The true test of moral clarity is not how well we speak for ourselves, but how boldly we speak for others when they have no platform of their own. A man who turns away from the voiceless turns away from a part of himself. But a man who listens, who defends, who uplifts, becomes part of something eternal. There are voiceless people all around us, the child who feels unwanted, the elderly who have been forgotten, the refugee seeking hope, the laborer whose hands go unrecognized, the neighbor burdened by injustice. They may not speak loudly, but their lives cry out with a force that echoes through the halls of conscience. It takes a heart rooted in compassion to hear that cry. It takes a soul unclouded by ego to respond not with arrogance, but with humility. The way we treat the voiceless is a reflection of how deeply we understand our own humanity. For if we can see the divine in the least among us, we begin to grasp what greatness truly means. It is not power that makes a man noble, but the way he uses it. It is not education that defines wisdom, but how that knowledge is used to lift others. When a man chooses to advocate for the voiceless, he becomes more than a leader. He becomes a servant of truth, a vessel of justice, a bridge between the comfortable and the broken. He becomes a reminder that strength is not domination, but service, not superiority, but solidarity. He may never be remembered in the headlines, but he will be remembered in the hearts he healed, in the hope he sparked, in the dignity he restored. To treat the voiceless with respect is to challenge the systems that keep them silent. It is to recognize that every human life carries infinite value, whether or not the world acknowledges it. The soul that can see worth in the unseen, hear value in the unheard, and act with courage for the forgotten, is a soul that transcends self. It walks a higher path where justice flows not from law alone, but from love that refuses to overlook even a single life.